Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and assorted others. Welcome back to Beauty Bee, where today we are doing a tutorial. I haven't done one of these in, it feels like ages, to put a very exact date on it. And today I decided to bring it back. In the series, I use shades within my existing collection, bring them out and do a look that I could have done with a recently released palette and convince myself that I do not need to purchase it. Now, I'm actually already convinced that I don't need to purchase this Lush Life palette from Colourpop. I don't know why it's speaking to me so much at the moment, but I am very aware that in a week and a half or 3 weeks when it would actually arrive to me, were I to order it, it probably wouldn't interest me as much. So I'm going to put up a picture that shows the equivalent shades that I'll be using, and let's get into it. I would usually start with some eye primer on, but it is actually 7:30 at night and I'm just playing with makeup, so I'm not going to bother with that. I am going to start with the shade that is equivalent to Eden. This is from my e.l.f. Pumpkin Pie palette. That is probably the last time that I'm going to remember to tell you exactly what shade I'm using, though I will list everything that I'm using down below in case you're interested. I'm taking that on this tiny little crease brush and I'm going to just stick that in the deepest part of my crease. I'm starting out really light, but I'm actually going to build this up quite a bit. I just find this particular crease brush fits in to that part of my eye really well, and it gives me a very good idea of where my crease is that just almost anything else doesn't. I find that if I want to build up more color, I can do it much more neatly having already traced out where I'm going to apply it using this brush. Though I don't actually know if I'll need to do that today. It's building up pretty nicely. We'll go in with one more round of it and then we can determine if something a little darker needs to go down. I'm actually pretty happy with where that is. Cool. I like not having to do more work. Next up, I'm going to blend out the crease with a transition shade. I'm going for this light peach shade. This is roughly equivalent to, I don't know, because I can't read their writing on the site, Eco. They're describing as a matte pale yellow. It's definitely peach in the picture though. I'm just going to really lightly blend the edges of that brown. It's not like they weren't pretty well blended before, but I do want that little bit of orange to pop through because we're going very green on the lid. And I want that contrast. Okay. Next up, I'm actually going to go in with some glitter glue. I'm using the NYX Glitter Primer. Look at me actually remembering to just say what two different products in this tutorial are. And I'm going to put that all over the lid. I'm going to go in with a brush to make sure that I'm getting it all the way out to the edges. Just have a hard time doing that with my finger. And I don't quite want to cut my crease. I don't want this to be quite as bold as that would be, but that's kind of the effect that I'm looking for. is an almost cut crease. Okay, I think we're good. Now I want to go in with the shade that they're calling Palm Palm, which is like a yellowy green. Super shimmery. I might also end up putting some of Juicy equivalent on as well, but let's see how just Palm Palm itself does. It is pretty, but it's just not as bold as I wanted to go. So I am gonna add some of Juicy. It actually looks better in person, I think, than it does on camera. This shade has a little bit of a yellow-green, not quite duochrome, but it definitely looks more yellow or more green depending on how it's hitting the light. And I think it's looking much more gold on camera and a little bit more green in person. Anyway, we're going in with this blue. That's more the vibe I was going for. Cool. I wasn't intending to, but I think because I went down with that yellowy shade first, that I'm going to need to use a wet brush to build the blue up as much as I want to. So, getting a shader brush wet, I'm gonna go back into Juicy and just really build that up. Going all the way out, really covering that entire lid. Okay. That's pretty. I will say, I think that this particular palette, even more than what most of Colourpop's releases, though the Lust for Dusk has a very similar problem, it seems like these both just look entirely different depending on which picture you look at. So I hope that I'm getting similar-ish colors, but I mean, just from the palette itself on Colourpop's website to the swatches that Colourpop has on their site, I feel like it looks like an entirely different palette. So I'm just taking a stab at this. So I think that is the upper lid more or less done. I do want to bring in some of that really primary blue Monsoon, and I'm going to really start that using this blue liner. This is from e.l.f. I'm going to put that in the waterline, and I'm probably going to disappear off of camera while I do it because goodness knows I never managed to stay in frame while putting on eyeliner. Okay, so that is on, and now I'm going to go into my NYX Ultimate Edit palette in Ash and, well, the primary matte blue shade. I'm going to take that on this brush from e.l.f. This is actually their flat eyeshadow brush, but I really appreciate it because it has this sort of triangular shape to it and it's quite rigid. So I'm going to build a little bit of that up on the side, and I'm going to apply it to my lower lash line. I'll try to talk through exactly what I end up doing. Okay, I don't know how well you could see that, but what I tried to do was I kept along my lower lash line until probably around halfway point of my eye. Everything past that, I built up a little bit more, and then I extended that line just a little bit past my eye, and sort of married the two sides by adding a little bit of that dark blue up on my outer corner. And now we're going to see if I can do a roughly symmetric job on the other side. That's where things always get interesting, right? Now, usually I wouldn't have been able to do that neat of a job, but because I'm not going anywhere with this look, it decided to come together actually pretty well, I think. So I'm going to add some mascara and think through exactly what I want to do with the rest of my face, and be back in just a second to, well, do it. Okay, so I've got my mascara on, and I think I'm going to keep the rest of the face really very simple. I'm going to go in with some glowy blush. This is my Wet n Wild Rosé Champagne blush. Putting that on this big blush brush. And I'm just going to sweep that basically across the entire center third of my face, because why not? I'm not putting any other powder products on my face, so I feel like I can have quite a bit of blush and still have it look relatively simple. And then for the lips, we're keeping with this sort of peachy theme that we have with the crease and with the blush. And I'm going to use this Dior lipstick in the shade 100 Nude Look. It is a peachy nude. To soften that up yet further, I am going to then add some gloss. This is from Beauty For Real. Is that a brand that you can actually get places, or is that a Ipsy and BoxyCharm Alibaba brand? Okay. Now at this point, I think that my makeup at least is ready to go. I still need to figure out my bangs. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but I'll at least give it another go. Thoughts on the palette now. As I was doing my makeup, I was trying to think of other looks that I would do with this palette, and I think that with the way that I do my makeup, I would find this a little bit limiting. Not because there aren't possibilities there, but just because there aren't possibilities that I particularly like here. I did a look that was largely inspired by this morning that really honed in on sort of the outer two columns. It was very warm toned. I used quite a bit of a pinky orangey shimmer similar to Hotness, and I liked it, but it wasn't anything special. I like this look very much, but I don't think that I would probably do this super often. Overall, I think that just doing this has really reinforced for me that this palette wouldn't be a good purchase for me. It took me about 8 tries to get that entire explanation out in a only mildly garbled way. So I think that that is my cue to stop this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I hope you'll consider liking and subscribing if you did. I really hope that I will see you in the next one. Bye.